Welcome back to the Pre-Vetted podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Our guest today is Kadamb Goswami. He's a product leader with 20 years of experience across Microsoft, SAP, and Amazon, building enterprise-scale platforms in SaaS, IaaS, e-commerce, fintech, and Gen AI. At Amazon, he leads an AI-powered solution that streamlines the accounting booking lifecycle and automates reconciliation for large-scale operations. Earlier at SAP, he led product management for SAP Commerce, Cloud, Hybrids to build B2B e-commerce experience and drove SMB monetization strategy. At Microsoft, he helped launch Azure programs and partner enabling that scale globally. He's also trained at Wharton's General Management Program and completed project management studies at Villanova University. Kadamb, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Federico. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. So what is the earliest moment you remember thinking, I want to build things that matter?
Oh, I think it takes back to me when I was growing up, and I grew up in India. And I think it started long before I knew that what product management even was. And if I think back, like my father, he was a teacher. He used to build systems to help students learn better, often with almost no resources. Imagine a small town with limited resources, not modern or advanced, and then you are scaling that how you can make impact in the community with the resources available to you. So watching my dad, it taught me that real impact is about intent. It's not always about the scale. It's about how you are solving the problem. So problem solving is very important. Adaptability is important here. This is something which I learned in the beginning when my father, with the different economic background of the students, when he was teaching it to them. So that's where the adaptability comes. Different way of learning things. Again, adaptability part. How you are solving the problem for the individuals. All those things I learned while I was growing up with him. First time, I personally felt it was in my college when I built a simple tool. I was doing computer science engineering and built a simple tool for our local library systems. Seeing it make that their workday for those library people became so easier. It was not manual. It became addictive. Like, oh yes, you can make the impact by making few small changes. I also remember the first time when I built the computer, it was a PC with 16 gigabytes of hard drive. Now I know, like, even if you take the phones, which are much advanced than the computer which I built. So I assembled every single part from microprocessor to motherboard to hard drives to modem and everything together. Those were the things when I was thinking, okay, these are things I can build it together, which can really make the impact. From then on, I have chased that feeling that building things that makes life tangibly better for someone else. And equally, we all need to help each other to elevate the life of the individuals. If it is through software or our product, that could be it.
I think that the hardship, the challenges that we face, especially when growing up, is what help us set our capacity to adapt in the future, right? And no matter where you're coming from, you have a lot of opportunities to take those limitations and trade-offs and being able to convert them into learning opportunities, right? Yeah. I come, as I was talking earlier, I come from Argentina. I was born in Argentina. And my first computer, I had to put it together with parts I was fixing computers for a living at one point, right? So I basically was taking pieces of computers that were not working, that were going to be thrown away, and I would take pieces to put together a computer. I didn't have enough money to buy a case. So my computer for a while was on a table full with cables and all that stuff. And it worked, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, at that time you kind of, I don't know if resent is the word, but it's like, oh, why do I have to go through this challenging situation and whatnot? But now I look at that with font, with appreciation, because when you go through those challenges and you achieve things, then you value the things you achieve and the places you go, because you know where you're coming from, right? So
Absolutely.
So what was your first real break in tech? Can you tell us a story of how the door was open for you?
I think I've been fortunate here. We all have, I believe in this, that we all are smart. We all have good skills, but it is all about, I believe in faith. So it's all about the time when God gives you an opportunity. And fortunately for me, I was doing my engineering, and after engineering, I was applying in multiple tech companies altogether. Just out of the college, I applied for Microsoft along with many other companies as well. Fortunately, my writing test, so initially you need to write a test, which is 2-3 hours test. They do analytical and many other skill sets to ensure like you have those basic qualifications met before even you can qualify for the interview. So I did that test, got cleared, and then it was a long interview. So I think I've been fortunate here to get the first job in tech itself, and that it was with one of the greater company, Microsoft, back in India. I joined it there.
Amazing. So you joined Microsoft in India, and then eventually you moved to the States, right?
Correct. I joined Microsoft in India. I was there for almost about 2 years. And then I got an opportunity from Microsoft Redmond here in Washington. I moved to United States with Microsoft at the time.
Right. Amazing. I was talking about earlier how I joined Microsoft when I was 16. And my boss did that transfer from Argentina to Spain. And he did a great timing, because right after he left, Argentina went to an economic crisis, and then basically all our salaries of everybody on the team was 1/3 in dollars, right? And from there it went down spiral, right? The whole Argentinian economy, right? Which is an interesting story by itself. But anyway, he did great, and then he came back to visit us a few years later, and then he was earning in euros, right? So he did a remarkable transfer at the right timing, right? Because after that, everybody wanted to transfer and they couldn't, right? So, yeah.
No, I think you're right. When I reflect back and when I meet with many other individuals, what I find is it's about being at the right place at the right time. And of course, you need to continuously learn, especially when you are in the tech or high tech industry. But getting that first break is very important. And I believe in, you are helping me, I am helping someone else, and we need to keep passing this rhythm. Then only we can really help. It's not that you or I have the unique skills which other people in Argentina or India or US do not have it. They do. It's all about the opportunity which they need to get it. And the way, if we feel like we are fortunate and we get that opportunity or break, it could be through mentor. It could be, oh, I wrote the test and I got cleared. Yes, you wrote it, but at that time there was a demand. And you were one of the good ones. So yes, you got it. But how can you help others? So that's why it is very important. So when you were talking about the gentleman from Argentina, and of course the economy went down, and Europe, it's all the ecosystem, and we need to help each other about and need to make the right decisions.
Right. And the way that I see it is, we work hard towards developing skills, developing the right work culture, the right way of thinking, and then there is a component of luck. But and as you said, is being in the right place at the right time. The luck is the way that I describe it. We're talking about football early, but is this analogy of somebody sends you the ball and you're right next to the corner of your other team, right? So then you go and you make a goal, and everybody celebrates. But the lucky moment is that somebody threw the ball right at you at that moment, right? And that you were there, right? But then the effort is, what do you do with that opportunity, right? So you practice to make that goal, right? For that, very unlike opportunity that happens, right? Or very low probability that could happen. And then when it happens, boom, you make a goal and everybody cheers, right? So that's what I'm trying to convey, that there is this effort of preparedness. So when the situation happens, then, you strike and you make a win. And then it looks so easy, it's like, it happens so easy,
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we just see the the time when that individual is getting past and just making it the goal. But there's a lot of work behind the scene that, as you rightly mentioned, the practice, making sure that you are reaching at that, or you are anticipating that the past may come there and you are making goal. So of course, there are a lot of behind the scenes stories, which we should be aware about as well. So again, my point here is it's not just luck that yes, that person was lucky and he was standing next to the goal post and the pass came and he made the goal. But yes, other than luck, it's all about the hard work and the practice that individual did, even to sharpen his skills as soon as he gets the pass and defending and making the goal on the other side. So of course, it's good equilibrium on both sides.
Yes, yes. And so we were talking that you move across companies, across domains, across continents, right? So what personal motive drove each move? Learning, impact, people, or something else?
It's a great question. It's a fundamental question. First, as I mentioned, like I joined Microsoft back in India, and 2 years I moved from Microsoft India to Microsoft US. It was a personal motive for me. My son was born and he needed some special medical treatment, and US was the country which can provide or which could provide those medical treatment and infrastructure. So that was the personal motivation for me to get and provide the best quality my treatment and support to my son. But I was with Microsoft for about 10 years and I learned the art of building the ecosystem. It not only helped me grow as an individual, thinking that when you're working in a companies like Microsoft, you learn a lot. You think about, oh, it's a partner ecosystem, 700,000 different partners. I think millions of customers are using the software in a different way. So it gives you that exposure that when you are building the system, it is all about the ecosystem. It is going to make an impact on every individual. So you need to be really careful about what changes you are making, how you are making simple for the user so that the user experience is better. You are not only developing, of course, it is a software company. You are not only developing for the hardcore technicians or partners, but it is also about that individual. So someone sitting in Argentina, as you mentioned earlier about your mom, if she needs to send an email to you, we need to make the windows as easy as possible. I worked with Windows team. And then, of course, when you're writing a mail, the messaging system, it used to be Exchange Server. You make it so simple that they do not get it. So that is something I learned in Microsoft. At SAP, my personal motive here was, again, it was motivated by my curiosity and learning. In SAP, I learned customer empathy and how software meets business. It was a different ballgame altogether. It was primarily targeting the enterprise audience. And this is where you understand the complexity and ambiguity and how can you make that complex thing simpler. That is something I learned it in SAP. And at Amazon, I wanted to test those skills at scale, that whatever I have learned it in Microsoft and SAP. Amazon is a very framework-driven company which works based on the leadership principles. It has defined mechanisms at work, and it was an opportunity for me to learn those new skills at scale, but at the same time leverage what I learned it in Microsoft and SAP. So it was a good amalgamation. Here, I got the opportunity to lead AI-driven finance automation that spent across multiple VPOs. So again, the whole idea of Amazon and then going towards the AI part is about how can I continuously learn something and how can I leverage something which I have already built it. So that was the motive across all these companies when I moved across continents and companies.
Amazing. Such an amazing journey, right? I find interesting when you work on a different organization, how there are so many nuances in the culture that you have to learn and navigate through, right? And I can't say one is right or others are wrong. I think they're different in their own ways, right? But learning how people interact together so you can achieve the mission that you were set upon in the organization, right? In an effective way. I think that's an interesting challenge by itself.
You're right, Federico. And I think if put it in a nutshell across all these three companies I have worked, I think it is very important for every individual, doesn't matter whether they are in tech or non-tech world, they need to be a team player. They need to know how to work cross-functionally, collaboration. You are working with the multiple sets of team members. So you need to know that. You need to know your customers very well, that why are you developing something, what problem you are solving it for the customers. So of course, customer centricity and working in the team is very, very important. From an individual perspective, you need to continuously enhance your learnings. That's where the adaptability comes into the mind.
Right. Yeah, and it's a balance. I was talking before when I do build my engineering teams for my clients. One of the things that I work on doing is building these social contracts with all the different roles to make sure that the engineering team works efficiently, but also, which is easy to say, but took me a while to figure out, is what we're building is to deliver value to the user, right? So, understanding that puts my work in a high level purpose where, when I'm on the engineering side, I'm talking with a product owner, I'm trying to work towards, okay, how can we both deliver more value to the user, right? And then how can we improve that communication, right? If we get clear requirements, then we don't have to go back and forth. We can optimize that communication, right? And the engineering team can work faster and can deliver with more predictability because they don't have external dependencies, right? And that's on walking faster, if you like, right? But then the other part is thinking about what we're working, right? What we're building, basically understanding the direction, making sure that we're working in the right direction, right? And understanding the whys. Why does this is important for the user, right? Which sometimes the product owner can articulate it, sometimes the product owner might not. So asking more, questions to make sure that we're on the same page on that sense, right? Because then what we're able to do is, which I find fascinating, is balancing out how much of the automated test, we should build based on a better understanding of the value to the user, right? Yeah. So anyway, I apologize, I went a little bit on the technical side.
No, I
But
think
yeah.
that was spot on. I'll just take 10 seconds here. The phrase I caught when you were talking about was when you build your team, Federico, that purpose driven, whether you are a purpose driven leadership or purpose driven approach when you are implementing or developing a solution, very important. What is the purpose? Who is, even from a customer perspective, like, okay, this is where they will leverage my product. When you are working with the product owner or product owner is working with engineering, why are you developing this? So the engineering could understand the nuances behind not only what they are developing, but why are they developing part. And as a purpose driven leader, like how you can make that balance within the team so that you are giving opportunity to your employees so that they can experiment. They can, if they need to fail, they fail, and but you are giving that empowerment to them so that they can develop those things.
I think you put it very eloquently. Yeah. There is another component that I was thinking about is that because we are a small cog in a big machine, right? It's very easy to lose this purpose, right? Because we don't see the client, we don't see the user, we don't, it's so many layers in between that the information that we get is so processed that we kind of lose touch that there's a human on the other side, right? So once we understand that there are humans on the other side, that we are changing their lives, maybe a little bit, maybe a lot, but through the products, we are facilitating their lives or making it better, then that higher purpose becomes more evident, and that becomes a stronger motivator to so I wanted to ask you another question is tell us about a no that changed your career more than any yes.
That's a good question. Think about Federico. Again, I'm biased by the timelines here because this is the recent project I'm doing, and I can talk about this as a story. In Amazon, as I mentioned earlier, like it is a framework driven company. In our operational processes, we have to write a lot of documents, and one of the question in those documents were about that what are your disruptive ideas. And I once pitched an AI powered financial reconciliation platform at Amazon. That was my disruptive idea. leadership's team said no because they felt it wasn't ready. The risk was too high because even a 1% can make a difference in, say, billion. So it's a huge scale. So, and again, AI, if you think, if you go back a year and a half or 2 years ago, it was not as advanced or as adopted as it is today. So it is making a lot of progress. But again, earlier 2 years ago, it was more about the machine learning, that how you are bringing the concepts of those and using the generate and then eventually generative AI in the financial processes. And financial processes are the mission critical applications. So it is always risky. But that no forced me to rebuild the vision about trust and extensibility. Like, how can we, number one, how can I get more data and can prove that yes, this idea could work? And how can we how can we build the trust? And trust is both ways, within the engineering and the leadership team, but also from a customer point of view, that they will trust about the solution which you are building for the mission critical applications. So it was just not about automation or standardization. It is about building those core components: privacy, security, trust, latency. And again, we can go into the multiple parts of the technical story, but the whole idea here was that this no turned out to be one of the good or better rejection for me, that helped me reimagine the version. How can I bring more data? How can I run more proof of concepts and bring those data and the story to leadership that, hey, we did the POC with a select set of use cases, and this is what we found. Similarly, the time when we launched this project, we went with the phased approach with the select set of pilot customers, so that we can get the feedback in the real time, that are they getting the value? Do they trust it? And we do the course correction and navigation in the real time. So those were some of the learnings it gave me. I know, like, this no became yes, and now this reimagined vision became the S-Team initiative in Amazon. S-Team is like a CXO level initiative. It scaled globally and even led to a patent filing. So that moment taught me that rejection isn't about failure. In your life, at least in the tech world, I'm just talking from a work perspective, there will be multiple instances where you will get rejection. Rejections could come in multiple forms. It could be your idea, which is not being understood by the leaders the way you wanted to present it. Similarly, when you are in a state where you are looking for a new role or new company or a new employer, interviewers, you may get the rejection. There are different categories of those rejections, but to me, those are not the failures. These are the early feedback. You need to reflect back on those feedback, because sometimes these feedbacks should be considered as a way that it will help you reflect back, learn from those opportunities or those incidences, and define or redefine your future telling your story. And this story could be in sharpening your skills, making adjustments in your overall mental process or mental models, bringing more data to the stories, thinking more from a customer point of view when you're doing the go-to-market story strategies and all that. So again, I went a little longer here, but my whole idea of conveying it to your viewers, Federico, here is that in the life, there will be, in work life, you will hear no many, many times, but that is not the end of the story. You need to continuously learn from that and needs to reshape your story.
Right. I think that, which goes back to what we were talking before, right? I think that building that resilience allows you to push through the no's until you get the yes, right? Turning the no to not yet, right? Yeah. And I was thinking, when you were describing using AI for a financial process, I was thinking, well, we know AI hallucinates, that it's a non-deterministic process, and on financial processes, we want determination 100%, right? So that might have been a really interesting challenge to go through.
Yeah, exactly. All right. You need to make it more deterministic, so that's where the trust comes into the picture. That hallucination, you need to limit it. You need to have specific parameters depending on what you're using. So yes, absolutely.
I am working on that, on trusting the agents myself with Privet, as I told you before, where I don't trust AI agent enough yet, right? But my trust is on the quality of the output, right? Do I trust the output, right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely. And again, and as you mentioned, a lot of these things are evolving, and trust becomes the core component here. especially when you are using your RAG or you are using different agentic orchestrators or agents. You need to set the limits. You need to set the parameters in a way that it does not hallucinate. It does not go into the never-ending loops where agent is calling another agent is calling agent, another agent, and then providing the output. So yes, a lot of those things are evolving, and we need to be more careful about how we are doing the tech design and the architecture here.
So, can you share a story about mentors and anti-mentors, and what specific behaviors did you copy or avoid?
Story about mentors and anti-mentors. I can talk about the mentors. I think it is very important to get the mentor, especially in these larger organizations where I have worked, because initially when you move to these organizations, it is not only about that you need to deliver and deliver it fast, but at the same time, navigation becomes very hard. There are multiple teams and people and culture differences and others. So you need to learn about many of the fundamental things which your manager may or may not provide. New employee orientation or other trainings may or may not provide. So that's why mentors are very important. And my best mentors, when I think about them, they did not hand me the answers. Okay, for example, when I reached out to them and I said, oh, this is the project, what I'm doing. This is where the constraints we have it. This is where the leadership or other cross-functional concerns we have it. How should I move forward? What are the alternative ideas we have? Where can I improve and all that? They did not give me a ready-made or spoon-feeding answer. They asked questions that made me uncomfortable in the best way. So they helped me see my own blind spot, and they build that conviction. So to me, mentors are someone who could really help you identify your gap areas, or I will say growth areas, and gives you enough tools so that you can convert those growth areas into your superpowers. Sometimes we get blindsided by the way we think about our product, our customers, our mental model, and it's very important to get that external loop, and sometimes those mentors could really help you in that way. So those were my experience with the best mentors. Anti-mentors, Federico, could you give me a little bit of context or example of what do you mean by anti-mentors?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of mentors that has good intentions, but doesn't actually are effective on the mentorship, right? Or I've seen mentor that preach one thing and do another thing. So that inconsistency. I mean, I think it's a similar relationship like a father and a son, where you have somebody with more experience, somebody with less experience, right? So, kids learn by example, not by what we say. I believe something similar happens on the mentor and mentorship relationship, right? And it's hard to see the difference when you are involved into that relationship, because there is also a concept of adoration, right? I've seen, I had mentors that I adore. I look up to them, right? So I would not see the mistakes that they would make, right? That could be anti-mentorship, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you are right,
So
Frederica. When you were talking about anti-mentors, when you explained, I can rethink about this part. And sometimes there are leaders in the organizations who led through fear or control. And this is very common, irrespective of what level of company you go into, because people are
right.
people, and you need to see I think, Federico, in one of your example, you mentioned about purpose-driven leadership and how when you build your teams, and test example you gave, that how you are empowering your own team. That's very important. But you will find there are people who lead it through their own fear or their own control, which they would like to have it. So from them, what I have learned, that power without empathy creates compliance is not the creativity. It is very important that we try to lead with clarity and trust. And I would rather people follow because they believe, not because they must. The point here is, when you are choosing a mentor based on this mentor anti-mentor concepts, you need to see what you really believe, where you are really getting uh, the the qualities or the values which you care about. The individual who can really help you grow, can help you identify your own passion, your own superpowers, can build your growth areas and gaps, but not based on someone who has a good title or someone who has more power, and you are just getting a mentee of that mentor because of that. That is, to me, may not be fruitful in the longer run.
So my opinion on this evolved, right, through the years, because at first I thought that the mentor had bad intention, right? But then eventually I evolved realizing that, well, not really. I mean, the mentor could have good intention, but still become an anti-mentor because of the behavior patterns, right? Without realizing that the person is doing that, right? And it's hard to do an introspection on themselves, right? So, and it's hard as a mentee to speak up and tell, well, I see these issues, right? Because as a mentee, I'm coming from less experience, right? So I have less authority to speak up. Yeah. But I realized, okay, if I detect this, I should find another mentor, as you said, right? Find a better mentor, right? Yes. Yeah. Great. So we are running out of time, so I'll wrap it up with one last question. Looking ahead, what problem do you want your career to stand for? What's the next small step you're taking towards it?
Excellent question. And I want my career to stand for human-centered intelligence. That's where the empathy comes into the picture, trust comes into the picture. Because we are talking about AI, and my current project is focusing on the mission-critical AI application. So I'm connecting it from that human-centered intelligence. That's where they're using AI to make enterprise systems more transparent, explainable, but more importantly, ethical. So I'm connecting the two dots here, Federico. One is about, from a work perspective, the way the future is coming up more in the agentic space. This is where we need to stand, or I feel that my career should stand. But at the same time, the values which I have, that matters, that who am I developing it for, what problem I'm solving for. So that it is very important that people remember people. Even if you ask someone that, do they remember what happened in quarter one, or in X year, the X quarter was red, and what did you do from going from red to green? No, people remember that, what did you do at that time? How did you change from red to green? So it is about the quality, it is not about the data. So I always want to think about that when I look ahead, that I continuously solve the problem for my customer. I continuously go deep into those, take the ownership, and then, of course, this empathy is the most important part, which I bring into my overall leadership or a product-driven culture. I think you also asked about the next small step. What I'm doing here is, my son is in 10th grade. I am mentoring some high schoolers here in terms of the core concepts, where actually they are developing some robot and some of the debate part, both separate skill sets. I'm volunteering and mentoring those kids in terms of learning about the core concepts of accountability. That at the same time, I'm helping them realize that it's not about grades. It's about what you are learning. So learning is very, very important, because these are the portable skills which you can grow. At the same time, whether you do robotics, or you do debate, or you do some other sports activities, it's all about how you are working with others. So that's the team culture. No matter where you go, which domain or industry or continent you go to, you need to work with people. So you need to know how you could work it all together. So those are the few things I am working with my son's school team, because the next decade, if you think about, AI will continue to evolve the way it is coming up. Robotics will continue to evolve. Trust will become the ultimate feature. And we all need to help each other in terms of bringing the true culture of empathy, just not thinking about, oh, here's the product and this is the way you can solve it. What are the core values your product has and can be really used in a responsible way by our customers, at the same time by the developers who are developing the product and taking it to the market.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that the new generation is now growing is an AI first generation.
Yes.
And the core competencies, the core values are going to become more and more important throughout the following years. So I think that what you're doing with your son is amazing. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, Federico.
So Kadamb, thank you very much for joining us today. Do you have any last insights you want to share?
No, Federico, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. It's a beautiful effort which you are doing, especially in countries like Mexico or Argentina or India and others. This is the mechanism where people are learning. You are giving the stories. Storytelling is an art. Story conveying, the way you have taken the effort to convey the story to your son, as you mentioned in the beginning, or to others. This is the good forum where people can share their insights, but at the same time, there are learning opportunities for others, people who are starting their career or they're thinking about going into the tech or the product management world. So thank you for taking the lead here. Perspective, I will just say one or two things, that the world is changing and it is changing faster than what we all anticipate. There are many new technologies coming up. The overall style of working is changing as well, because it's a human and agents working together, especially in the product and the tech world. We all need to be adaptable. We all need to know about how we can, in place of getting feared or thinking about a roadblock, we think differently, that how can I really solve those problems? How can I be part of that momentum? And to be a part of those momentum, you don't need to be in the companies like Microsoft and Amazon. You can be a Federico's own effort, the way you are making the change. You can simply think about how I could learn, how I could contribute, how I could leverage the agents to do solving a problem for my local chapter, local community, your own product, and so on. So continuous learning is very important.
Amazing insights. Kadamb, thank you very much for joining us today.
No, thank you, Federico. Bye.